So for the next couple of hours, we are going to hear from Dr. Caroline Musselwhite, who, if you've not heard of her in our community, you are in for a real treat. Caroline is one of the people who has been involved in the Angelman community for many years, almost a decade at least, and has for many more decades before that been a leading speech-language pathologist, AAC person, and really helping to think about how do we support our kids around literacy, around communication, around fun, around inclusion in schools. And we are really lucky to get to hear from Caroline this morning about inclusion. And then after that, we'll take a mini break, and then we'll shift to hearing about literacy. So that's our plan for the rest of this time together. We know there's not break time really scheduled in here, so if you need to, you'll be a grown-up and take care of your own needs. And we're going to jump right in with Caroline and hear from her about inclusion, and then we'll shift to hearing about literacy. Here's the exciting thing. Caroline is not just a fantastic presenter, she also has giveaways. She also has really fun, engaging activities, and so stick with us, and we really are excited to welcome Caroline Musselwhite back to FAST and for this presentation.
Thank you. So you can see here is my contact information. I have a website, etc. But I just want to tell you something. So I turned 65 a few years ago, and I thought I need to rethink my life because I'm like traveling every week. I'm all over the world, and I thought I need a 15-year plan. So my 15-year plan, here's number one and number two. Number one is I want to work more with individuals with Angelman, Pitt-Hopkins, and Rett syndromes. Why? Because I think the potential to actualization is amazing. I think that so many individuals who have Angelman syndrome are having a hard time showing what they know, and I want to help make that happen because I just feel like there's such enormous potential, and we're going to figure out ways to make students show what they know. The second one was that I'd like to support AAC and literacy camps, and so I've been a part of starting or helping move forward camps in Ontario and Alberta. And I live in Phoenix, so go figure. But anyway, I love being part of that. And then number 5 is not on this list, but I love doing stuff internationally. So if you know people who want international presentations, looking for Guatemala. Okay, so check with the end of working more. Now, in terms of working more, I'm just putting it out to the universe that I really want to find more students with Angelman to work with. And the universe found me, Kai, who lives 15 minutes from me in Phoenix. And so Kai was with us she goes to Out and About. We have a community outing event. If you want to know more about, guess what? There's a free download, a book on how to start a community for people who use communication devices in your community. And if you go to Teachers Pay Teachers, and it's a free download. Did I say free? Yes. So Teachers Pay Teachers, my name, download the free book called Out and About. And so here we are at an Out and About event, and Kai is performing a poem that she wrote. Okay, she had a little help. She's really new at having her communication system, but she's really, really learning. And this is a young woman that we are really going to be pushing for strong inclusion when she gets to school. So the month before, we took pictures, and then the student went home and, with their parents, helped write a list poem. So she found airplane and car, and she did I like, and they made a list poem about her adventures. And I just want to say that I feel like we have to have more opportunities for modeling. I'm not really talking about AAC today, but that's going to be a big part of my talk. This is my website, hundreds and hundreds of free tips. But I tried to make it easier because I have this huge belief that one of the things that helps us is smoothing your path. There's so many great ideas out there, iPad. There's so many great ideas out there, but it's really hard to find them. Sometimes we're always searching. So I made a Dropbox for you. And if you stay till the end of this session, you get a link to a free Dropbox with tons of goodies that I'm showing. And one of the things I've done is taken the tips I'm talking about and putting them in there so you don't have to search. So that's my website, and you can see that. I just saw this online recently. I love it. This is the gold standard. When someone is truly included, no one will question their presence, only their absence. I see so often IBO inclusion. You know what IBO means? In body only. There's no real attempt to fully include and have this individual be a really big part of the group. But this is what real inclusion means. Now, I'm going to be part cheerleader and part coach. More coach, because I want to not just say, inclusion's great, you need to make it happen. I want to talk about some of the strategies that can help. And I hope these are strategies, if your students are not fully included, they're still strategies that can kick up the activities within a self-contained special ed classroom. So what we need is the AA system always available. So these are just like, this is the necessary but not sufficient. This is going to make it work, but and then I'm going to teach you other strategies that will support even more. So AA system always available, yes, all day. Now, what I see happening is not that. Often it's like, let's use the device during circle time and pull out speech therapy. If your child had a profound hearing loss and needed to have sign, when would you want someone signing to them? Everybody understands that. I can ask people who know nothing about AAC, and I say, if you worked with a child who has a profound hearing loss and needs signing, when do you think we should be signing with them? And everybody says, well, all day long. And I think that's a paradigm shift. When we give that analogy to classrooms, they get it that we really do need to do it all day long. And so I get to work with individuals in their homes when you get a device from the state of Arizona. Still, so far, they're trying to cut stuff, but I'm hopeful. You get 12 hours of free training that comes with that. And I'm one of the 12-hour trainers, and I get to work with Kai doing her 12-hour training. And so I had told the family, you really need to model all the time. And all the time means all the time. All the time means, think about how she talked about, we're going to have a lot of time sitting on the potty. And we're not just using the iPad for mindless activities. We're having conversations, and we're exploring, and we're having that rich joining, that rich interpersonal connection. Okay, thanks.
That's not working.
Sure. How about that? Yeah. So when we're doing that, we want to make sure that our students have that opportunity to have feedback. So Kai was sitting on the potty. I'm allowed to tell this story, by the way. And she was, I've been there for a while, and she's just exploring her device. She's babbling with her communication device and hits the word me, and finds the word boss. She just happens to find the word boss. She's exploring. She doesn't know where to get back to it. And then she points to herself, and her mom models, yes, you are. And so the idea that all day means all day at school and at home. We need smart partners. We need people at school who know that system and can model. You need to stay ahead of that student and know it and take the time to learn it. It's not as hard as people think it is once they jump in and just start trying. We need peer supports. Peers are so powerful. They're great modelers, and for even more important, they're like great motivators and really good problem solvers. They figure out how to make things work that we sometimes have a hard time with. And engagement, we've got to have that engagement. Engagement helps us with focus, it helps reduce behaviors, and it also supports our friendships. So we need to do all of those things. One of the strategies I talk about is strive for 5. If it feels overwhelming to find all the language on your device, then strive for 5. And so what I'm talking about is 5 words to model for any particular activity in a school day. So think core. You only get one noun, okay? So this is not, we're not going to get stuck off in noun town. We want to have words you can use all day words. You might have heard people talk about core. So this is where AAC and classroom intersects, so that if you're doing an activity, you're thinking ahead to find 5 words you're going to model during this activity. 5 opportunities for that student to jump in. Open-ended questions, sentence starters, expectant pause. Now, I find that for students who have dyspraxia, and many of the students I work with do have dyspraxia, that when I ask a question, it's that deer in headlight. I am just making that dyspraxia so much worse if I ask a question. But if I do an I wonder, ooh, I wonder how he's feeling. Or, oh, I think she's feeling really. So if I do a sentence starter, I see students are able to jump in and make some kind of a response much more successfully. Strive for 5 also includes counting Mississippis, giving that pausing, slowing it down, not having such a fast pace. So I'm going to do, I really believe in the I do, we do, you do explicit teaching approach, and so we're going to try that. So I'm going to show my example first. So we're looking at a science experiment in the inclusive classroom, and I am not going to look up the word vinegar, and I'm not going to look up baking soda. Those are words you're, like, when's the last time you said baking soda, right? It's just not something you say that often. On the other hand, look. How often do we say the word look? So that's a word I want to model in this science experiment. I want to ask, so this is an emergent student, I'm just going to be modeling the words that are in bold and caps are the words I'm modeling on their communication system, whether it's high tech or light tech. What do we need? And then we're going through the materials where we've done the little chant, the scientific method is purpose, hypothesis, materials, procedure, results, conclusion. So as we're doing that little thing, every time we come to the next step, what do we need? What do we do? Those are the kinds of things we can be modeling. We're telling you to put it in, because most of our science experiments involve putting something in. And I don't care if it's baking soda or vinegar or lemon juice or whatever, we're putting something in. What do you see? Let's write that down. We want to take that data. So those are the kinds of things I could model for an emergent student. For a student who is beginning to use 1 and 2 words themselves, I'm going to be modeling a little more. Look at that. What do we need? Notice all these high-frequency words. Notice I don't have any outer fringe words. They're all these rich core words. Put it in. What do you see? Let's write that down. These are the kinds of things. How helpful is it to a student if they can learn to tell us, write that down when we're doing some type of an activity and they heard something they want us to document? So we need to be modeling that to help them learn to say it. So if you're thinking about watching some words or short phrases for reading or watching a video, so just talk to people at your table and think about what's something you would want to say, some high frequency things you would say when you're watching a video or reading a book. What are some things you might say? So just talk, and you can then raise your hand and call out if you want, or just have a conversation yourselves. So who has a word or a short phrase you'd like to share? You're watching a video or you're reading a book. What's something you might be saying? What's next, right? Or what now? Whatever words, whatever's easier to find on their device. What now or what next, okay? What else? Turn the page. And it might just be turn it, right? Those are higher frequency words. So just thinking about how can we always make it even simpler so we're modeling words that are all-day words. Like it, I'm going to use more than page, so I might be saying turn it, or just turn please. So those are the kinds of things we're going to be doing. The tips for that aided language input, point to the keywords. Don't overdo. I see people who get excited about it having these honking long sentences. No, just make it simple. We typically stay ahead of that student by 1 to 2 words. So if they're using 0 words, we're using 1 to 2. If they're using 1 word responses, we're using 2 to 3. Got it, etc. So let's look at how we can support our students in inclusive classrooms doing vocabulary and concept support. So I'm working with a young man who's a high school student, and this is one of the things they gave him. Oy vey. I mean, I just looked at him and went, kidding me? Like, this is just not helpful. Here's the little PowerPoint. Okay, we made a black background with yellow text to help his vision, but there's just TMI. That's just way too much information. Oh my goodness. So Gail Van Tatenhove has taught us to do something called the descriptive teaching method. So instead of programming more like 50-cent words, use nickel words to explain those 50-cent words, okay? And that means our kids get it, right? We're take every new area of the curriculum, we're not trying to add in, photosynthesis and mitochondrion. When's the last time you said mitochondrion? Yeah, that would be never. I mean, like not since high school for me, except in presentations where I point out that I don't really know what, that I don't use that word. So we're going to use high-frequency reusable words to describe hard words, okay? And if we do that, then it means we really have to understand it to do that. So referential language is the usual way we do it. That's what we want to say, don't do that. We want to use descriptive language. So in referential language, it's unit-specific vocabulary with lots of new words like persecute and photosynthesis with quick one-word responses. Okay, what is the energy body for the cell? Mitochondrion. Yeah, that's just not helpful. That doesn't mean you really know it. You're not going to own it. You're not going to remember it. Well, we expect that correct or incorrect response. In descriptive language, on the other hand, we're just using plain, everyday words. We're using familiar words to describe new concepts, and we might have multi-word responses. We're not just calling out mitochondrion. We're coming up with descriptive words and more than one correct one. So before you're programming a new word on a communication device, ask these two questions. Number one, is this word for only a single unit of study, or is it used across multiple studies? If it's for a single word, a unit of study that's going to be over in a few weeks, that probably doesn't justify spending a lot of programming time. Will it be used after the unit's over? Are you going to say it again? Like, so for example, I have my high school student I'm working with at the School of Art and Design in New York is studying photography. So there's some words he's going to use over and over and over and over all 4 years. And so those words might be worth putting on his device. But we are certainly not putting Boer War on there because he's not going to use that later. So if the answer to these questions is no, we're not using it for multiple units, and we're not using it after the unit, have some kind of a light text support. So we want to be interactive, expect a response that's active, that's generative. Our students aren't going to be doing this. It's going to be plan B. We're going to be modeling. For years, I have a student I've worked with for years modeling this kind of strategy, and now she's starting to do it. So we were at an out and about event. This is a young woman with Rett syndrome, and her dad was trying to find the word fish, and it wasn't under animals. And so she just laughed, and she said, swim down under animal. Right? She's telling him, you don't have to find it, Dad. I can just use the words to explain it. So we want to be doing talk alouds when we do this to show our students where we find those words like, okay, it's a describing word. I need to get more describing words. I want to say it's huge, right? So we're using describing words to model things. If it's a concept, we can't point at it. We want to go slowly. It's going to take time to learn it. We have a lot of open-ended questions because there's lots of right answers. And if they're peers, we really want them to help because they can benefit from this. So let me give you some examples. These are some that Erin Sheldon's daughter's peers came up with to help Maggie understand the ideas behind words from ancient Egypt. So we had pyramids, people build, very big, shape of a triangle, right? Those are words that are good words for her to learn. That's much more helpful than pyramid. Desert, very hot, very dry. It's a place. That's words that we want to be modeling. Those are words she can use on many, many different activities. I love mummies. Old, dry, dead people, right? Yeah, gotta love that. So these are just really fun things. I couldn't remember what a canopic jar was until I heard their definition. Body parts go in, right? We often do this type of thing just while we're doing a shared reading activity in an inclusive classroom. So this was a student I was reading Journey to the Center of the Earth, and here it is at the emergent level 2. we've taken Journey to the Center of the Earth and have it at 7 levels, and this is one of them. And so we are in a volcano. The volcano is going to erupt. So Mr. K was reading the part that says there's hot lava everywhere. And now he wants to talk about lava. He didn't pre-teach it before, but he realizes, gosh, they don't really know what that is. He's like, there's hot lava. Wow, look out. And Jake says, what? And Mr. K said, hot lava, do not touch. So he's modeling, do not. And he points, so hot, red hot. And Ellie repeats, hot. And he says, right, Ellie, hot red lava. It goes down. It's in the volcano. So just using explanations and simple words while you're reading a book can be really powerful. And I've taught many, like students from 3rd grade and up can be very successful at doing this. I love doing 1-minute webs. I have a word I want to teach you. I'm going to just put it in the middle and have people come up with words. And I might show you a little video first so you've got that background knowledge. And then we're going to do this. And you can see the words that are underlined are the words that my students using communication devices said. So we have volcano, and one of them said it's orange, it's red. Somebody else used their speech to say it was a mountain. And I said, well, what about the lava? Tell me about the lava. And a student found hot on their device because we'd been talking about lava while we were reading other stuff and modeled the word hot for many different things, and then said, and it can go, and they said down, right? So just having this rich discussion with your students who do talk and students who don't, and just making it simple. Here's one where students are starting to write. We're talking about a monster in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and they're coming up with some ideas from communication devices, and we're writing them on Post-its, and you could see one student was trying to write his idea, and that we'd been working a long time on actually using the alphabet, so that was exciting. So I want you to practice doing this. I have one for rainforest, so let's just call out 3 words that you would say for rainforest. What would be some words to describe the rainforest? Wet. Pardon? Green. Hot. Okay, trees. Right, exactly, perfect. I love using books for both input and output. So here's a book I made. Because so many students I work with have cortical visual impairment, I'm trying to think about some of the features that might be supportive. Like having a black background, but it's sort of a matte black, so it's not gonna go back to you. Now, I put this in the Dropbox I'm giving you, so you'll have this as a sample. You might be doing something way easier than volcanoes, and that's okay. I'm just showing you how we took a really tough concept and tried to simplify it, okay? So volcanoes, crater. C is for crater. Oh, you know what? The transitions are not working while I'm projecting. I had set it up with the box transition, so they're really bold transitions, and you see when it changes pages, and I don't know why it decided not to work. C is for crater. A crater can have water. A crater can have steam. Do you hear a predictable book coming on, right? A crater can have lava. A crater can be dry. And now, a crater is a bowl-shaped hole at the top of a volcano. Erupt, another word you talk about. E is for erupt. Erupt means blow up. An active volcano can erupt. Lava. L is for lava. Lava is hot. Lava's melted rock. Lava can flow. Lava's melted rock coming from a volcano. The hot lava cools. It gets hard. It makes rocks. So let's look at this again. So I have a book, and I had a clean background, I had simple text, I had attention to color, so yellow behind the text to just call attention to the text. Most of the students I work with aren't reading it, but I want them to see the text. I want to do that print awareness. Bold transitions that for some reason went away, but so it would be very obvious that there's a new page coming in, so it wouldn't just like, our students can sometimes miss that when the page changes. We want to make it obvious. Here's the concept plus an image for that concept. C is for crater. Here I'm connecting to the alphabet, but it's a very age-respectful alphabet book, okay? A crater can have water. A crater can have lava. So what do you see there? Right, I've got words that describe it, but I've also got that predictable text. And you know, brown bear books are fabulous if you're under 8, but they're not cool if you're in double digits. So we can make alphabet books that have this type of thing. We could use the word it to support modeling. Instead of saying a crater can have water, I could have said it can have water, okay? And then which of these words would be on your device? So I'm going to call out a word, and you're going to say yes or no if your child or your student has access to this word. A, crater, probably, no, and don't put it on, okay? So you could just do it, okay? Can, have, water, okay? And then the same thing in the next one, we have a can have or it can have. And I don't care if lava's on there. It's not about lava, it's about understanding lava. But that's not a word they're likely to say as much as it and can and have are power all day words. Then the next thing I did was give a deeper connection to the word, a simplified definition coming, you know, that I made a definition that's got more information, but it's still pretty simple. So that's what we have there. Now, when I'm making alphabet books, I really like doing alphabet books to go with topics that your students are studying. I think it's just an incredibly empowering strategy. But I don't just start going, C, what's C? Oh my gosh, I can't think what's for C. What we do is brainstorming all the words that tell me about whatever the topic you're studying is. So if it's rainforest, we had those words wet and hot and trees and plants and snakes and, right? So we've got all those kinds of words. So when we're doing a rainforest ABC book, we're brainstorming first. Here's one I did with a group of adults with very significant disabilities at a day center. And so we talked about Earth Day because they had partnered with a kindergarten, and they're writing a book for the kindergarten, and the kindergarten was going to be talking about Earth Day. So we did an Earth Day one. So that we had things, we had places that are important with regard to the Earth, we had describing words, we had friends of the Earth, and I just made a visual map, and when people called out words on their devices, we would decide if they were connected to Earth Day or not, and if they were, where do they go? So just a great brainstorming activity to talk about all the things. I often do this toward the end of a unit, not at the very beginning, to see what they've learned about what we're studying. And it's fine, it's a great review, and you can leave out X letters. I mean, I don't care if there's an X in every one. Just, hit the high spots. Don't go crazy, right? Have fun. I love using books as reports. So working with your student to co-construct a book that tells you about a topic. So when the other students are writing a paragraph or a page or whatever, a lot of times we'll do a book that's really engaging and fun. With visual supports, a talking software, some type of an app is a great way to do that, or PowerPad that I've added speech into. And what I love then is that book, if that book is on your student's iPad, their academic iPad, now they can listen to that book over and over and over, so we can have deeper learning about whatever it was we've been studying. So here's one I just love. This is one that Finn and Tina did, using Pictello. I often, if you don't have Pictello, Book Creator is a great app that's inexpensive, and as I said, I use PowerPoint a lot. But I'm actually going to show you this one. Hopefully, let's see, please, technology work. Okay. So I have, oh good, it's working. So I have my iPad here, and of course, all right. So here is Finn's book. They're studying missions. I believe it was 5th grade in California, Southern California, and they always study missions. And so he did one on Mission San Juan Bautista. So let's see if I can. I'll just hold the mic up so you can hear it. Okay. Nope. No, we want sound up. Sorry, I turned the sound off. My mistake. Oh, come on. Okay. So Mission San Juan Bautista.
Mission San Juan Bautista.
Okay.
Mission San Juan Bautista was founded on June 24th, 1797.
Thank you, darling. Okay, so here's just the facts. Here's the factual part. And so he used a voice that is, a very clear, understandable voice. Let's go look at the next page.
That's old. Even older than O.P.A.
Okay? And he chose the voice, the old man voice, because he's talking about that's old, even older than O.P.A. So really powerful.
It was also known as the mission of music.
Okay, he chose a child's voice for that one. We want it to be real clear, make sure they understand it.
It was also known as Native American boys performed for many visitors.
My papa likes to play music, but not for visitors.
Okay, so think about, so he presented this to his peers. This was his presentation about this. So we have some of the features that made this really effective and really engaging. He had photos, real photos, both about San Juan Bautista and about the people that matter to him. He had text, and it highlighted the text so that we can be working on that print processing. He had speech. He used great voices, different voices. He chose what voices to use, and he had humor. And that made him want to read it over and over and over and over, so he's learning more. I love doing a photo response using augmentative communication devices, working with a literacy group on Fridays, and we'd been studying China, and afterwards I showed some of the features. We've been talking about the geography of China and different things, and so I talked about the Yangtze River, and one of the students came up with long using her device, and it's like, oh yes, like that's what we talked about. The Yangtze River's really long, so she got it. The beautiful was an opinion, and that's great too. The Yellow River, funny, and I said, are you telling me it looks funny? And the student laughed. Yes, it looks really funny, this Yellow River. And somebody else said yellow. Somebody else said sad. Oh my gosh, that warmed my heart, because you know what we talked about? That the Yellow River there was lots of disease. It's flowing really slowly, and so it carries lots of bacteria, and people who lived along the Yellow River often got sick and died. So the Yellow River is a sad river. Yes, they're getting it, they're listening. The Great Wall of China, people go back. Oh my gosh, people go back. Well, it was built to keep out the Goths. Anyway, yeah, whatever. And it is going health to live. That's what one of my students wrote. If people don't come in and shoot you, it's really healthy and you just might live, right? So just wonderful. And I used pic collage to make that. And so I just took pictures and I copied them in here, but afterwards, then you can take each one of those pictures and just take a screenshot and make it into a book, so you can narrate it and talk about the Yangtze River. You said it was long, and you're absolutely right. That was a really long river in China. You said sad, and you're right, because so many students. We can give that so it's not a one-shot learning kind of thing. So adding that information, and so thinking about all kinds of different tools, but that's just one of the kinds of things I've used. Now, I want to talk now about participation scripts. So for our students who really aren't using are fully included or just included occasionally, and really need a lot of support, they're not using their communication devices robustly, but we're doing lots of modeling. So what can we also do to provide more participation and more connections and more of those social supports? And one of them that I do is a lot with social scripts. So the goal of the group is not using an AAC device. Students, by the time you're old enough to be included, they're not learning to talk, they're talking to learn. And so let's dance with the girl you brought, and let's see how we could help our students run activities. So I've done Can We Chat is a book that I did, and I have lots of samples of activities. But social scripts are interactions. It's things like joke telling or doing a life story or chit chat. It's beyond wants and needs. It's more conversational, and it can support our students in claiming a turn and starting and maintaining a conversation. So taking turns, that turn taking is a really important thing that our students might be able to learn with this. So I'm looking here at some sequence scripts where we've pre-planned some steps, we've co-constructed by the user and a friend, a partner, and hopefully that's going to be a student in the classroom. And our goal here is social interaction, but also learning those rules of conversational turn-taking, okay, in a classroom situation. And these are some of the kinds of things that I particularly have found useful, step-by-step. So this is from AbleNet. Tap Speak Sequence is an app that you can get with lots of board maker symbols, and it's just an amazing app. Total Talk is an app. I've been helped with the development of it, and they've done a really good job with social scripts. And Pictello, a lot of you, raise your hands if you already have Pictello, because a lot of people have Pictello. And so it works really well for this as well. So let's just look at so it's multiple messages. We can have text and videos. Here's the goals of these social scripts, is to make communication more frequent, to make it feel motivating, to help students feel like it's worth the effort, that it's self-initiated. The student starts it, and then they can maintain that conversation. It's varied to keep the interest, different scripts for different purposes, multiple turns, so the students get to say more than one thing, range of partners, and especially about peers. Modeling different communicative functions or pragmatics, and easy. We should be able to just like set this up, do it really fast on the fly. So I just want to point out parallel teaching. I would never just do social scripts as a student. Never, ever, 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 ever. Never, like nada, not okay. If they're using social scripts, we must also be helping them learn to use a robust communication system with lots of language, and that involves more personal choice making, is more generative. This is especially for students who struggle with access, the students who have a really hard time accessing that 84 location device, for example, or just are learning the rules of engagement and the rules of social interaction. So, very important to remember, we want to separate out the motor task and the cognitive task. So we're not trying to figure out what we want to say and where is it and can I get to it on my device. We're just like working on that social thing. So let's think about line leader. If your students are in an inclusive environment, they're lining up, especially if they're younger, they're doing line-up kinds of activities. That is sponge time, man. We can sponge that up for a little bit of learning, and we can sneak in some literacy. So here are some line-up scripts that I've done. And so let's look at what has literacy. So if you're wearing red, line up now. Well, that's not really a literacy, but it's a good language concept of learning colors instead of doing some stupid put the red block in the can. Yeah, I've seen that way too many times. If your name starts with M, stand up now. So you guys have been sitting. If your name starts with M, stand up now. Anybody? All right, see? Little activity there, too. Okay, you can have a seat. If your name has, I'm actually going to do the next one through a social script. Let's do it through a script. Okay, class. Now, the ones that are underlined are the parts that my student came up with these parts of the script, okay? We co-constructed. They got to say whether they wanted to say, okay, class, or hey, guys, or yo, or listen up. What fits their personality, okay? Okay, class, it's time to line up. So here's what's happening. I'm hitting this, and I'm saying these one at a time, okay? So I'm just going to record it real fast. Oops. Okay, class, it's time to line up. If your name has 3 beats, line up now. Okay, that's enough, so we'll just do that. So I'll let you, so you're the so she said, okay, I turned it up, so, okay, class.
It's time to line up. If your name has 3 beats, line up now.
Okay, if your name has 3 beats, stand up now. Let's do stand up. Okay, if you have a 3-beat name, I'm standing up Caroline. Okay. Okay, so, if your name has 2, I didn't do the whole thing, but if your name has 2 beats, stand up now. Okay, sit. If your name has 1 beat, stand up now. There's so few 1-beat names anymore. Okay, sit. If your name has 4 beats, time to line up or stand up. 4-beat names, Angelica, Eliana. Oh, I can't tell you how many of my students these days have 4-beat names or 5-beat names. Wow, that's a lot of beats. Catch you later. Okay, so the student is leading this activity, and they're getting a chance to practice, and they're getting a chance to see who's standing up. I've even done it like, if your name has 3 beats, line up now, like Monica. So the students are figuring out. Letter awareness. Scavenger hunts are super fun. So here's a social script to support a scavenger hunt. Hi there, got a minute? Think about doing this with multiple partners. You get to practice the same thing with repetition, with variation, because you're talking to different friends. Hi there, got a minute? I'm making a letter book and need your help. Do you have anything that starts with the letter C? And the student would have picked what letter they want used. And this is a great way to link to your alternative pencil. So the student used, for example, this pencil, and they came up with the letter C. Okay, and now we've recorded it. Great, can I take a picture of it? Thanks so much. Got to talk to someone else now. So now we're going to make a book of all the things that started with the letter C. So we've got our social interaction, but we also have pictures for a book of things that start with C. And we're also going to do, the next day we're going to do things that start with M so that we can compare things that start with C and things that start with M, because we don't want this to be, today is brought to you by the letter C, because the brain is a pattern detector and needs to learn. So here's one we made in Pictello from Angelman Camp. Sadie has sandals with socks. Silly Sadie. So they went around and everybody found something that started with that letter. And then I made a little comment that goes with it, silly Sadie, that also is alliterative. So we're hearing that sound of words that start with S. But the brain is a pattern detector. This is really important. We can't just do, this is S week. That is not good learning. That is not good instruction. We know better, we should do better. It can't be this week is all about the letter S, because we're not comparing it to anything. Wonderful story. I was talking about this one time about please stop doing letter of the week. And a teacher raised her hand. It's like, oh, Dr. Musselwhite, I totally agree. She said, I did it for years, and then I realized it wasn't a good idea when I was doing this activity, and I held up the letter, and I said, what's this letter? And the blind child, so someone in the back of the classroom yelled out D, and she's all excited, and then she realized it's a kid who's totally blind. He just knows it's D week, right? The answer to every question this week is D. Right? Or duh. No, I wanted the sound, duh. So we've got to have that pattern detection. Is it D or is it N? So we have Nico has nifty New Balance. Nice, Nico. So this is Nico when he was not quite 3. It's been a while. Alphabet Action Man is a fabulous game to play. Okay, I just want to see if you guys were watching. Okay, just testing. Well done. Okay, we had an Angelman camp about 5 years ago in Ontario. We got the grant for it about 10 days before camp started. We found out we were doing camp. Oh my gosh, we were just scrambling. I was in Spain, and Gretchen was in Portugal, and Aaron was in Ontario, and we're trying to plan this camp. And by the time we got there, it wasn't completely pulled together. Full disclosure, right? Imagine that. And so Gretchen and Aaron said, Caroline, can you take all the families and all the students with Angelman? 17, just saying, 17. And, just do something with them for 2 hours? And I said, no. And they said, yeah, you don't have a choice. And so we found out that you can do Alphabet Action Man for quite a while. It's really fun. They stayed really engaged. So here, Hannah, somebody has pointed out the letter H for Hannah, and then we said, well, what would be something we could do for Hannah? What starts with the letter H? And then we came up with hopping. We're gonna, so I had 2 Post-its. We're gonna hop for H. And so everybody's hopping, and we're showing the letter. People are trying to find the letter on their alternative pencils or on their communication device. And then they're trying to find what's another word that starts with H. And so they're looking on the communication device, and they're just modeling. It wasn't like the students are finding that, oh, yes, I could do hug. Hug starts with H. But we can find the word hug on a communication device, and then we're like, let's hug, hug. And so everybody's going around hugging someone different. And then we picked another letter, and so now we're coming up with the J. Let's jump for J, let's, et cetera. So just lots of fun ways to do alphabet, to play a game. We're increasing those communication opportunities, but here's the script so you could do it in the inclusive classroom, okay? So think about that. That was such a fantastic presentation by the OT just before this. And one of the things she talked about was that, having some appropriate movement in a safe place can really help, with our sensory self-regulation. And so Alphabet Action Man is a wonderful thing. So the first letter's D. Danielle picked the word dance, so the student is using their communication device, and they're hitting repeated switches. And so let me show you how that might look. I think I've got, let's see if I have this on tap speak sequence. I can't remember what I've got programmed. Thank you, Vanna. Okay. Well, here's the letter hunt on tap speak sequence. Let me go put that so you can see it. Oh, good. So I'm on this one, so I'll let you have this. So I hit the first one. Hey, I'm doing a letter hunt. Let me turn it so it's, okay. I'm looking for stuff that starts with the letter M. Can you find something to help me? You can take a picture of it, or you can put it in my box. Thanks a ton. See you around. Did you notice that I had green for the first one and red for the last? That means it's starting with green and it's ending with red. Let me show you another one in Total Talk. So I had 3 Total Talk subscriptions, apps, free codes for the silent auction, but they didn't get here in time. Darn, instead of doing the silent auction, I'm going to have to give away 3 Total Talk. So let's go open up Total Talk, and I'll show you how it works on that. There you go. So I'm on Total Talk, and I could either be, I could have my core vocabulary, or I could go to my photos and have lots of photos. So I love. So I could have an I love food. I could go to the next one.
I love food when it's beautifully arranged.
This was done by an adult.
I love food that's colorful and healthy.
But see all the little pictures. But the other thing we could do is great joke page. And I'm having iPad problems. This is not Total Talk problems. This is, I think I need to reset my iPad. Anyway, so I'm going to go to my stories. And I'm going to find the story of the line up to the beats.
Line up to the beats.
And so I could either touch these in order, or I could hit next phrase.
Okay, everybody listen. Time to line up. I'll give clues. If your name has 3 beats, line up now. Okay, let's check. Like this, mon, e, ka. Next, if your name has 1 beat, line up now. Like this, Jack.
Okay, so that's just an example of how we could set up scores of social scripts, and that really, really fast. So that's Total Talk, and if you want to win it, here's how you could win it. You're going to write down in 50 words or less why, this is only for parents, okay, why your student, your child or adult, why this would be something that you think they would really, really benefit from, and you're going to give it to me when my session's over at 12:45, and I will pick 3 and give you the code so you can win it. So here's just how we could set up Alphabet Action Man. There's a tip for that, and I put it in your Dropbox, okay? I love sharing. When students have done something, a poem, a story, an art thing, some kind of a craft, whatever they've done, having them help us have language to tell us about it is a really fun thing. So here's one that we did at a high school for students who have very significant disabilities. They all have significant cortical visual impairment. So this is what we did, one student did with us. So she decided she wanted yo as an attention getter. And she's doing this think about the high school students that she met with to say, hey, I'm making a book. It's an alphabet book. It's for kindergartners. Now, do you get it, the difference? She's a high school student who doesn't know the alphabet. But that might be embarrassing for her to say, I'm trying to learn about the letter C. So instead, we flipped the script and she said, I'm making an alphabet book. It's for kindergartners. And now she's the helper of kindergartners. So now she's going to go back and everybody that she interviewed who took a picture of something that started with the letter C or the letter M, now she's going to show them the book that she made. So she's following up. So there's that second opportunity to have this social interaction, right? So we have an attention getter, yo. We have a starter, I have something to tell you. It's the alphabet book for the kindergarten. Want to see? And then have it and they look at it. What do you think? Isn't it cool? Thanks, I'm outie. That's what the student picked. Some of her peers gave ways to modeled possible closings, and I would never have known to say I'm outie. Raise your hands if you did not know that this is a current way to say goodbye in high schools, right? I'm outie. Is that new to anybody or just me? Anyway, so just really powerful having those peers involved to get that language that will, have other students really be engaged and interested. So it's like my good friend Thomas Edison said about creativity when I said, Tom, how do you do it? How are you so creative? You just have so many amazing things you've invented. He said, Caroline, I'll tell you. The way to have a good idea is to have a lot of them. So I have given you a lot of ideas. I don't expect you to do every one. I expect you to take one and grow it and customize it and make it fit your needs and the needs of your student. And just a little subliminal messaging here. AAC in the Desert is a conference I run in Phoenix, Arizona. It's March 5th and 6th, so it's a very fun conference, so just saying. Don't forget the silent auction. Here are things that I knitted for the silent auction for you guys. So I want you guys to go bid. I want like $100 bids on some of these items, okay? So, and here's your code for this. This is the code. I'm putting things for both of my, it's got stuff that I do when I do workshops with parents, but I added a lot of new stuff just for this one. And so, it will have a lot of the things that you need. So we actually have 6 minutes for questions. I rarely do that.
Will you stay there, and then I'll move around with the mic?
That sounds perfect.
Okay, great. I see you back there. I'm coming for you. So here we go. We'll start with this, and we'll see what we can do in 6 minutes.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, very helpful. So I have a daughter who is 12 years old, fully included. We work with Kate Ahern, a friend of yours.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's pro to go with her all day. We're finding, though, as she's in middle school now, she's in 7th grade, as the academic content becomes more and more challenging, it's harder to really teach the concepts. It was much easier, we found, in elementary school, but as we move through middle school, and we're kind of really worried about high school. So I guess my question is, a couple of questions. Any thoughts on that? Secondary to that, any thoughts on reverse inclusion and things of that nature?
I missed the second part.
I'm sorry, reverse inclusion?
Oh, reverse inclusion.
Reverse inclusion.
Right.
And kind of universal design and things of that nature. So it's really a two-part question.
Right.
One is just any global thoughts on her moving through moving to the high school.
Right.
We're in a very good school system. We're very blessed.
That's great.
Yeah, so, and I'm also curious because I'm on the school board and I'd like to help other students as well.
Okay. So the first question about, the pace gets faster and the content gets bigger and deeper as you go to high school. As you're in middle school and even more in high school. We've found that having peers try to help us decide what are I find that if you are in an inclusive situation, it's easier because we have peers help us try to decide, and the teacher, like, what are the key things you really want? What are the key takeaways? What are the big ideas that you want my student to really get? We're not going to be able to do every vocabulary word for every unit. Can you pick 2 or 3 and tell me what's really important? So have the teacher help with that, and then the peers helping. Peers one of the things that I have found that when we've done this, that the teachers are very happy if the peers are defining words, if they're using things like the bubble map or making books that talk about those key concepts, that they're learning it at a deeper level. And teachers are really happy about that. So trying to get, to narrow the focus so you say, I can't teach, there are 80 vocabulary words that go with this 6 weeks unit. That's not going to happen. Let's pick, 2 or 3 a week, and then let's use that descriptive methods teaching, and let's use, and let's try to create books that really, so we have deep knowledge supporting those kinds of ideas. I found that, that doing some background knowledge with videos has been really helpful for my students with Angelman syndrome, because they are very tuned in. I like the Watch, Know, Learn website. Is a free website that has videos that are done by teachers and are curated. Some are too complex, but some are really great. I spend a lot of time searching for videos, and I know that's, but it really helps. And to the second one, what about reverse inclusion? And that's what we're seeing happen a lot of, so many of the students I'm working with are not in inclusive classrooms. They're in self-contained classrooms, but doing reverse inclusion. I prefer full inclusion, but when that isn't happening, reverse inclusion can be really, really powerful. I've done a lot with communication circles, where we set up a communication circle with 4 or 5 students each semester, where they learn the language. That's a topic for a different day, but where they learn the language of that communication system, and they model, and they have goals each week, and they're trying to provide support. But I think having the peers come in with not just some hangout goal, having really specific goal, like the types of things I talked about today. Let's create some books with Jessica to help her learn these words. Let's model those words on her device and then put them on this book. That the peers have clear goals, because otherwise they're just sort of hanging and don't really know what's expected. So, sorry, that was a little long. Anything else? Okay.
So, Caroline, can you define reverse inclusion? And then we have time for one more question.
So, reverse inclusion means that, at least this is my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I've always understood it is you're in a self-contained classroom and you bring gen ed peers of a similar age in to be there for a certain amount of time each day. The classrooms I'm working with who are doing that, the students are, the learning, the skills the students are developing are so much higher, because they've got somebody working one-to-one with them who's at their age, and they want to work hard for that student. It's a really, really very successful opportunity. Yes, and the last question.
Who's got it?
And if you guys want to take the time to take a break, it will not hurt my feelings. Oh, we have one more.
Here we go.
Hi, it was a great talk. Thank you very much. We have a young emerging AAC user. How quickly do you open up the language and kind of go off of vocab builder to give them more access to words like boss and the plane and the things that Kai was saying?
Well, so for example, with Kai, I see that she has some receptive language, that she knows a lot of the core words like want and get and more and not and go and do. She gets those words, she understands them. And so I encourage the family to open it up and let her explore and be modeling. But we're not really focusing on noun town. She just happened to find. We're really trying to focus on high frequency words, the action words that are high frequency, describing words, hot and cold and big and little, those kinds of things. But if she's exploring and she finds it, then they have a conversation about it. So it's just a way that she can be building vocabulary. Because typically developing kids know 6,000 words by the time they hit first grade, okay? And so I want our students to have a rich vocabulary if that feels, if it doesn't seem overwhelming. And so I kind of see how that child is reacting, and she is hungry, not overwhelmed, and so I really want her to have access. In general, I really don't try to restrict a lot. I mean, you may not have everything, but I would completely agree with the speaker at 9 o'clock with Laura Beauchamp that that more is more, that if we just have 8 words and now you learn more, and now I'm going to give you 16 buttons on your homepage, your motor plan is gone. And it's not like our students have fabulous motor plans to begin with. So I try to have as many symbols or as many cells on the homepage as they can see, and I feel like they'll be able to touch by the end of the year, like with a year, because I see students with Angelman getting better with practice at accessing. I mean, I see Kai from August to October, just, oh my gosh, her motor skills just improve so much from doing it, right? So, yeah, so more is more in general. So, okay, go have a break.
Thank you very much. We're going to take a 5-minute break and then come back for the next part of the session, which is on literacy. Thank you, Caroline.